Well, if only this world, had no boundaries, had no rules, no laws, no certainties, then yeah, we could create a fictional universe in which profit was derived from fictional profit and on top of fictional profit on top of fictional profit, and that could all just work in a beautiful utopia. But it doesn't work like that. If you look at the Great Depression, what sparked that off was the very kind of early days now, especially if you look at it, of using debt for speculation in businesses. But most of those businesses involved people and physical products, and it still made a mess when all the roosters came home to, or chickens came home to roost. The system we're in now, that has just been allowed to continue with no clear division, is slavery, basically. People are deriving profit from fictional entities in a digital sphere that have been kind of given free rein away from what we'd already established as human rights laws and things like this. And then they're deriving profit and value based on projections from nothing, from this fiction. And then they are able to purchase physical assets with that fictional money printing machine. It's not a surprise that this happened. Like this is the way our system works. When you get the banks have been doing this for years, but the banks were kind of, moral. The banks were actually like, they had one foot on the ground when they were doing this type of behavior. This new phenomenon of creating worth and value in this, and having that affect the whole. If you think of the economy is all connected at the moment, and this is what I'm trying to suggest, that we get a pair of scissors out and chop it. We can have both these things, but we cannot have them in combination. And it's very simple. It's weirdly kind of what the Bible did, when what the church did is they used their fixed stranglehold on the interpretation of the Bible to derive wealth, but they put it back into physical infrastructure and places. So if I say I find myself homeless, I can go to a church and I'll probably be looked after. But and I've tested it, it's like if you find yourself lost in the digital, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. There's no physical anything connected to it. And these entities that they've just hacked into humanity, created a worse version of humanity that is more, you're more susceptible to risk in that environment. And now we're having a great battle between people that are trying to control that environment in the physical world but aren't participating in it really at all, except for putting little posters up about how great they are. They're trying to control the actions of people in the digital world while putting restrictions and things. It's not going to work. They need to be severed. And it is a gigantic moment in history to sever this. We did make a video game. That's okay. We've got lots of video games. We've got lots of world video games that people play. You all implanted all, like everything into a video, they need to be separate. There needs to be clear boundaries, like a clear border between these two spaces, so that we don't end up with this type of like out of control chaos that's being caused in these ways. If I had 1/100th of what I've done digitally in physical form, so it's not, I would be quite well off. I'd be like, wow, I could go to any art gallery in fucking anywhere and say, hey, this is what I've done. It's this collage of of magnifying glass down on the last couple of years. But it's not that. It's a liability. It sent me to jail already. It's got me ostracized already. And so this is the wrong way. We're doing this the wrong way around. Because of course, physical entities are becoming terrified of digital behavior, but it's not digital behavior, it's human behavior. It's just we're using the tools that we have to communicate with each other, which is what we're meant to be. Otherwise, it's like plane tickets and flights and hiring out things and stuff. And this is the great equalizer, but you're losing it. And you're exposing yourself for what you're doing. And it's like I just think no one, we've got a bunch of like childish fucking hall monitors that are kind of trying to regulate humanity. It's like humanity's self-discovery of what's happening. And they're condensing it down to, because it's happening digitally, they're condensing it down to almost like a stereotype of like, nerds in their mother's basement, which ironically, yes, I could very much be considered as that. But I was, this is my retreat place. I retreated back to here because of what's happening. The majority of my life has been spent like as a hard-working member of society, raising a family, building some of the actual physical products in the world. If I didn't know that I could go and do that, I would be a lot less confident in what I'm doing. But I know I can. And I know that what you're doing, most politicians, is doing nothing but bringing division and skewing the perception of this emergent phenomenon. And I guarantee you, it's like, I hope that something gets through, but otherwise I'll be putting this through in 10 years and going, yeah, I told you 10 years ago, this is what we should have done. And there's ways to do it. I've only just started thinking about it, but I suppose I'll just continue thinking on it, free of charge, just voluntarily while I'm completely ostracized by society. I'll come up with the solution so that we don't end up in fucking hell. You can't have machines that produce like adequate value from basically nothing into nothing, that build these the world doesn't work like that. This is physics. You cannot have systems disconnected. This is what has led to the destruction of every civilization in history. If you look at Rome, it was the city-state of Rome couldn't control its empire. And this is no different, but at least Rome was real. And they think because it's digital, because it is free, because it can be distributed very cheaply and reproduced very cheaply, that this is like some type of cheat code. But it's not. It's the opposite. It means the destruction is going to be far, far worse and far more serious. And it's already implanted into all our systems, and we need protection against it. Because otherwise, the system itself becomes the target. Once people are dispossessed enough, it will become the target. Then we lose everything. And it's quite an easy target. So, yeah. God damn it. If you imagine the work involved in what I'm doing, one of the first tasks I have to do is I have to find out who is holding the real physical value of the world. And what is physical value? What is all these things? In order to then map out strategies for preventing the digital takeover of the world. When we have these, it's so strange because I'm using the tools. I found a way to use the tools to communicate in what I feel is kind of groundbreaking because it incorporates lots of things in this really fluid. So I can incorporate music and lyrics and colors and movement and symbology and straight to camera talking and lots of things to kind of express that, I suppose in a way I've always had, but it's very, I can do it, condense it very much and make little audio visual packages to try and do this. That's not terrorism. That's like innovation. That's art. That's creativity. It's experimentation with communication. That's what will actually bring us closer to peace as a globe, is finding ways to communicate, accessing the full spectrum of our emotional capacity. As humans, it's always going to be, if we connect on our empathetic basis rather than our fear basis, or this is how we build worlds that aren't in constant horror of constant wars with the machines of old that are killing machines. And that's what I'm doing. But within that system I'm kind of using, and those tools, like, I know the capability. One, it's not going anywhere. So they've decided, someone has decided, no, that doesn't go anywhere. And this hasn't ever existed before. If I go down to my local shopping complex, like the little shop, and start playing guitar and drawing things, or probably no one's going to tell me to leave. Do you know what I mean? If I start doing mine, no one's going to, like, that hasn't, we don't have laws for that. Sometimes in cities you have like buskers areas and you need to get a license and things like that. But nothing like that. I've just been deleted and drifted off. You've literally just herded me out and fucking left me in a paddock somewhere. And unless these phenomena are mapped out and spoken about, no one knows. But you're all participating in it, including some of our like highest level politicians in the country. And I think if that could be made clear, what you're doing, maybe people will start to realize where we actually are. These digital tools, if the back-end controls of that are not made transparent, then we aren't participating in a free society. We are being herded, individually herded. Down whichever path is decided on. And human beings are, yes, we are that susceptible to manipulation at that level. We can all be individually programmed. I wouldn't be surprised with the tools at the moment, if someone got a hold of those back-end tools, we could turn what is society now into an absolute fucking like Mayan cult where we're bringing our children to be sacrificed on a volcano. That would take about 3 weeks. If someone was to map that out. It's happened before without those tools, because that's how it happens. We have There are people like, so I access that world because I'm trying to stop us going there. And to do that, I need to explore and think about the techniques that people use. But people, countless examples, have used that. If you get to a position of, see, the difference is I'm not in a position of power, though people have done it from non-positions of power. But there is like a system of humanity that works with certain pressures added and certain stimulus here and certain, mob mentalities here and things like this. And we can end up somewhere that is horrific unless we have a protective web of feedback kind of limiting us from going there. And the fact that I know I'm doing this, and there's countless people doing this, and we're being pushed out of the board. My biggest fear has nothing to do with my own personal safety. It doesn't even really have to do with the safety of my family, because it's kind of part of it. My biggest fear at the moment is knowing how you're doing this and thinking, there is a really high likelihood I'm going to be pushed out to the periphery and I'm going to watch humanity devolve into something horrific very, very, very quickly and have absolutely no way to stop it and no way to speak to that without finding myself on the chopping block. And this is like, for me, it's like living in the dark ages. I know the last 1,000 years of human history has had protections against this. This is why we haven't really done that. There's been little flip-ups. There's like the Holocaust and there's different things. But we haven't devolved into absolute fucking pagan human sacrifice out in the open just going on. And look, there's a real argument to be made that we're already there. And the human things like these technologies like art and music and performance and theatre and debate and all these things, they're a technology of protection so that we don't evolve to that. They're kind of like, they're like a hypnotist snapping their fingers. If forces are concentrating humanity down destructive paths, these things act as like wakey zones. You might hear a song and go like, whoa, what was I thinking? Oh, I'm out of this. It snaps people out of conformity, because conformity, which is what you were all participating in, conformity was what the mandate was. Take anything to do with the actual vaccine out. That conformity epidemic that went to very, very high levels is still going. You are still going in that. And you are shutting down historic technologies, human-derived technologies, not computer-derived technologies of performance and art and music and human interaction that usually limit them. So you're potentially on an out-of-control, conformist cycle that all it takes is one person to enter that structure. That's already, it's already lockstep. It's already like any feedback or any it's gone. That's all gone. And that is what you're fucking playing around with right now. And this is the danger of Trump, weirdly enough. And it's what like people are claiming. So this fuck up to enforce conformity is what's leading Trump to be a thing. And then you've built a system. If he jumps in there into conformity, yeah, we might all be fucked. And it might not be him. It's the same if Kamala or whatever her name is jumps in there. Or some random politician just sitting there waiting in our system. We need to break the spell of conformity. And we need to allow technologies in. Right, solutions. Remember, I'm a solutions guy. we have it's August, middle of August, early middle of August. August, September, October, November. We have 4 months, really. We have 4 months' time to, and this, look, the funniest thing you should know about this, I've been supporting and supportive of Trump. Because the core argument of what Trump is stimulating in humanity is this exposure of corruption and exposure of, this conformity, kind of this extremist peak that we've hit on the left. And although I really do actually think that all things will balance, and so we will inevitably see a flick back to the right. And if you've gone out to the extreme left, it means the extreme right, which I am nowhere near, is going to get a visit from the world. But the thing that needs to be broken is conformity. Okay, we had quite possibly this extreme left conformity phenomenon that emerged has potentially already initiated a Holocaust on humanity. It's just maybe that Holocaust is going to be stretched out over 20 years. 20 years of who knows what effects that substance is going to have on people, or the extreme manipulation of people's bodies with hormones, or the extreme out of control individualism celebration of the internet and reckless development of a digital utopia and the imposition of that onto our physical world. So we probably already have the Holocaust. It's probably already done. It's just we'll be experiencing it for the next 20 years in this slow revelation of how bad that period actually fucked the world up. So the most important thing, because if that's the potential on the left, you know what I mean? If we can grasp that, if we can go, well, all things being even, yes, the left had the exact capability to destroy the world as much as the right did. So if we can get to the point where we go, well, maybe we've already got the Holocaust, it's already happened, it's already all around us, and we're going to be dealing with it just like the world dealt with the Holocaust after the Holocaust. Then maybe the instinct to fly out to the right as fast as we can and then experience maybe another version of the Holocaust right after this one, just straight away, just like, let's fucking go back to fucking Nazi Germany, which is on the table, and not to do with any individual leaders or the underlying direction of humanity. It's to do with the conformity that was initiated under the fear of a virus and then protected and amplified by some of the most groundbreaking technology ever released in the world, which individualized everyone's programming to conform to something that was a fucking experiment. And there is an equally terrifying and horrific experiment to be taken place on the right-hand side of that argument. And if those tools are then just transferred over to whoever would want to do that, then it seems like the world is just stuck in some kind of ping-pong table tennis game in which the most horrific things are exchanged on either side of a management argument. There is no way out of this without opening the fucking gates wide open. I'll tell you about my experience on the side of the vaccine hesitant, anti-vax side within that community. I'll explain some things. That was not a uniformed group. There is no such thing as a uniform group. The one thing we had in common was that we knew something, it was wrong. What was going on was wrong. That was it. The ways we thought it was going on wrong was as diverse as the animals at the zoo or the animals in a rainforest. And the extremes of that argument led from absolute, this is 100% a fucking eugenics, global euthanasia program, to this is just a continuation of like non-connected natural medicine. Like, they're extreme. Those people are so different. It's like you called us all conspiracy theorists. The far extreme of that's like the conspiracy theorist of all conspiracy theorists. And the other side is like your auntie that plants daffodils and makes daffodil root tea. That was the spectrum of that opposition. But it was condensed into one solid unit so that you could be, take your medicine, so that you could take your medicine of propaganda and be in opposition to a monstrous thing that was trying to kill you, apparently, because that's what you were told. And the same thing is about to flip. If we flip into this opposite side, then guess what? Guess what? If individuals that think it was that and that you were all this and this, if they get power, yeah, you're in a whole lot of trouble. But I'm not one of them. My feet is firmly planted in the center of that line. I have my left foot on the left and my right foot on the right, and I've never fucking moved. Because it's not the argument I'm in. The argument I'm in is to why these distribution tools, anomalous in any other version of distribution tools ever experienced by humankind, have been allowed to perpetuate our society unknown, in the dark, feeding into every house, every infrastructure, every business, every finance, every bit of money, every asset, every scientific relevant, and the reason for that is because that is their only protection against exposure for out of control fiscal and scientific developments, purely profit deriving constructs that have just what happened in the financial crisis. Bankers are doing this because they wanted to make money, they wanted to get bonuses, so they don't care if you don't have a house. That turned from your house to your body to your fucking freedom to your life, and the same thing happened. The same exact thing. So it wasn't just your house. It's not just your housing, it's your entire fucking life. It's your freedom, it's your humanity. Was gambled on a fucking craps table you never fucking saw. The entire future of humanity, of the world, of our interconnected systems that keep stability within our world were gambled with by psychopathic fucking suicidal fucking drug fucking fueled lunatics. Not just using the financial tools that they had built themselves to give themselves an edge, but using the distribution media tools to completely brainwash and control mobs of humanity, to make it down to one equation. That vaccine argument is so broad. It is so broad. It is not a simple yes or no. It never has been. Nothing is. They made it that simplistic because it was tied to billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of financial assets. That someone decided it was a great idea to just throw them all into the metaverse, all at the same time, and then just make that transition into an environment where every person can be controlled. And if they can't be controlled, they're pushed out of the game. And that's what's happened. That is what is going on right now. So I'm going to round this off today. An executive from Pfizer, quite high up executive, just got done for market manipulation. Apparently moved some things around knowing that the release of their COVID medicine, I think it's Paxlovid, I can't remember, it's going to be released. This is pretty common. So this is market manipulation. By a Pfizer executive. Now, market manipulation is an amazing term, isn't it? Because in this case, it means the stock market. The stock market. Where shares are traded. And so if you get an edge on something and and you can make some movements there, you can make a lot of money. I haven't got a stock market where I live. We do have a stockyard that does sometimes turn into a market where livestock is sold, bought and sold. So if we consider the world as a market, which it is, because it's what drives the stock market, it's what drives all other markets. So every person's beliefs and decisions on purchases or medication is part of an interconnected marketplace. And so what would you call, if you amplified fear, provably, what is that called? What do we call that? Terrorism? Yeah, it's called terrorism. Now, what's it called when you amplify fear to increase demand of a product you were in development of? Terrorism? Market manipulation? Yeah. Now, what's it called when you attack critics? When you possess and blackmail governments of the world to do your dirty work for you and imprison critics? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's still called market manipulation. It's still called terrorism. It's all of the above. Should we keep going? Should we keep going to see what else has happened? The inconvenient truth, as Al Gore would have said, is that humans have survived every pandemic for millions of years. That's why we're here. The actual statistical argument to compare something that apparently came up with in 6 months in comparison with the entire evolutionary biological history of humanity in a system that we fucking don't understand at all. I'd bet on the intrinsic abilities of the human immune system. The interconnected immune system that we all share together. That's what I'm putting my money on. And I did put my money on it. And I didn't need to spend a cent on manipulation of global markets, on fear campaigns, on buying politicians to do my dirty work for me. This honestly, go back, look at 2008, look at what happened with housing. What did they do? They lent money to people that couldn't pay it back. Then they sold those things to people. This is what's gone on. but like in every other dimension. The gamble was people will always pay their houses back. And when you went to the extreme of that and gave fucking basically anyone a mortgage, which we're still doing that as well on top of it, just to make it all fucking a really massive fucking problem. So we're doing that. But then what was it? It's like people will save their lives, won't they? That's the bet. People will pay their houses off. Oh, people will save their lives. Large people are fucking critical of the thing. They're suspicious that this isn't real. You know what I mean? They're critical of it. Oh, we'll buy it. We'll buy certainty of this. People will save their lives if they think it's in danger enough. So we'll amplify the fear, and we'll actually turn criticism into the dangerous position. If you're going to criticize our fucking medicine, you're in a fucking dangerous, you're an enemy. All of this happened. All of it. There is no way there is any legitimacy of any government member who participated or any party that participated in this corporate-sponsored fucking fear and attack on individuals just practicing their common sense, their powers of deduction, to deduct out a global fucking trap, to lure people into some type of utopia where every ailment can be cured by this one simple technology. You just need to plug the fucking Lego in of whatever it is. If you got baldness, oh, we plug it into there, the mRNA, we're going to fucking go. And all the fucking most wealthy people in the world jumped onto this fucking stock. And they manipulated the entire market, the entire global market for 3 fucking years. And that's just sitting there. It's just right there. All your money, everything is sitting in the fucking clouds with that truth just fucking eating away at the last little rope that's fucking hanging from the ceiling of nothingness, holding that whole thing up. And every institution of trust has this all over them. They're completely covered. It's not just caught red-handed. They're completely covered in it. So now there's the opposite. There's the global race to fucking allow distribution of this knowledge, of the knowledge I'm saying, of the information I'm trying to spread with just my voice. No resources, no market manipulation, no nothing. Just talking to my phone in the shed that I fucking retreated to a year and a half ago to make my argument while being attacked by the majority of the world for daring to use common sense, for daring to use observation, for daring to use like my just basic analysis of a fucking interconnected finance and information system to show what's happening. So why is Mark Zuckerberg very confident at the moment? Because he played a big part in this. Yeah, he had a lot of pressure put on him. He had his life probably threatened. He had his well-being pressured. And he was forced to do this. But I'm fucking here, aren't I? I'm here on his platform saying this with no warnings, with nothing else. While the hangover, the after effects of that manipulation still hang around, I've got no one else around me. The only person I've got on my side right now is Mark Zuckerberg. So thanks, Mark.